What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about what cameras I use and why. Let's get into it. Before we actually get into today's video, it would mean a lot to me if you hit the like button and subscribe down below. So without further ado, let's actually get into today's video. So there are a few different cameras that I use, whether it's for vlogging or whether I'm working on production like a wedding or a car video. Every camera that I own kind of has its own purpose, so we're going to go over what each one of those is. So the first camera that we're going to be talking about is my Sony A7C. I really just bought this camera to be my overall beat around camera. I wanted something to bring around with me every single day, but I also needed something that had an articulating screen, because ever since starting my YouTube channel, I found myself either trying to film and the frame wasn't exactly there, or I might not be recording, or my settings might be a little bit off. So having the articulating screen is actually really helpful for that. I also use it for bigger productions, like if I'm doing a wedding or a car video or a brand video. This camera is usually the go-to for stuff like that, especially because with the articulating screen, it's also a lot easier to use this camera on a gimbal, which I also went more in depth about in my other video if you want to go check that out. Now, although this camera is a mirrorless and a hybrid camera, I really don't use it that often to take photos. In a pinch, if I do need to use it for photos, I will. For photos, I like to use this next camera that we're going to be talking about, which is my Sony A7 III. Now, like I just mentioned, I primarily use this camera for photography. As you can see on the bottom, I have a battery grip. It's not the most expensive one. It's some kind of cheap off no-name brand, but it is really comfortable if I'm taking photos, because if, let's say, I'm doing a portrait or I need to shoot something vertically, I have the shutter on the side over here and it has all the controls and everything that I need. So it just feels much better in the hand when I'm taking photos as opposed to if I'm trying to do videos with it. But it doesn't have an articulating screen, so I don't really use it for vlogging or anything like that. I do, however, usually bring this camera with me if I'm shooting an event or I'm shooting some kind of big production, because if my A7C gives out, this is a perfect camera to have for backup. For the most part, all the settings between them are the same. I can shoot all the same types of video formats between the two, the same kind of picture profiles, and they're both Sony, so I can match the colors pretty well. This camera used to be the one that I would bring everywhere with me, but ever since I picked up the A7C, that's the one that I've been taking around because I'm able to use it for vlogging and it had the articulating screen. But I also started to get into this workflow where if I'm out filming and I want to take photos, it can be pretty annoying if I'm trying to shoot with the camera on a gimbal and also take photos and video. So instead of trying to angle the gimbal into all these weird angles, I usually just keep a lens on this. And then when I'm filming with the gimbal and the A7C or the A7C on a tripod or something, I won't have to worry about taking my camera off the gimbal or the tripod to take photos, because I'll have this wrapped around my neck. The next camera that we're going to be talking about is my Blackmagic Pocket Cinema 4K camera. Now, if you're already subscribed to the channel, then you've probably seen the other videos that I posted. If you haven't, they're on my channel, go check them out. But essentially, I really only use this camera for the higher end productions, or if I'm looking to get a much nicer video quality. This camera shoots 4K in ProRes and RAW, and for the most part, I really don't push it to its limits unless I'm getting paid to deal with the amount of storage that it takes up. But it's also kind of annoying to use sometimes on the gimbal, or if I'm trying to set everything up. It's very time consuming, and I would like to use it for a lot more productions, but unless it's really high paying or it's actually worth the trouble of taking this camera out to use it, I'll primarily use either the Sony A7C or the Sony A7 III for video. The next camera that we're going to be talking about, which I was kind of indecisive whether or not I should actually put this in this video, is going to be my GoPro Hero 9. This camera, I primarily use it for behind the scenes stuff. I don't really like to vlog with it because it's very, very wide angle. If I'm in a pinch or if my cameras are occupied, I will use this to be the designated vlog camera, or if I'm trying to capture some really cool action shots. I really like to just put this somewhere, or either mount it to my chest, mount it to my head, stick it on top of one of the cameras, or put it on the suction cup to record behind the scenes to make YouTube content and stuff like that. But I bought it specifically to be a behind the scenes camera. I've always had a GoPro, and the one I had before this, I don't know what happened to it. It just didn't want to work for me anymore. It didn't want to record. So I figured it was time to upgrade, but I kind of wish that I waited maybe a month or two more, because a month or two after I bought this GoPro, they actually dropped the new one, which is the GoPro Hero 10. But nonetheless, I still really enjoy using this. I actually bring this thing out with me pretty often. I'll either keep it, I tend to wear a fanny pack because I hate having stuff in my pockets. So I usually tend to keep this in there fully charged with an SD card, just in case there's something I want to record that I don't want to capture with my phone, or if I don't bring the A7C out with me. But it's really convenient, and I highly suggest if you're into videos, you're into filmmaking, you get a GoPro or some kind of small action camera, because they're really convenient to have, and I really do enjoy having this. All right, I feel like as this video progresses, I keep getting a little bit further and further away from cameras that are like DSLRs or my cinema camera, but bear with me because I actually use this to film, and it's something I capture content with, and it's not exactly a camera, but it has a camera on it. I'm talking about my DJI Air 2S. I primarily use this drone for personal projects. There's only been a handful of drone projects that I've really done, or where they specially requested that I use the drone. I usually don't bring it out with me unless I know I'm going to use it, and sometimes it screws me over. There's been times where I've said I kind of wish I brought the drone with me, but unless I really need it, I tend to leave this at home, just because I don't like to carry a lot of stuff with me. I like to be as run and gun. Even if I plan something out, I like to be as run and gun as possible. And if using a drone isn't in my plans, typically I'll just tend to leave it at home. All right, so we finally made it to the final camera, and this camera is going to be my iPhone 12 Pro. I use the iPhone 12 Pro only if it's an emergency, only because it's not designated solely for that kind of media, and it's very easy for me to take screenshots or take photos that have nothing to do with whatever the production is that I was filming. And don't get me wrong, it's a fantastic camera, but for me personally, the way I work and the way my workflow is, I don't like to use the iPhone unless absolutely necessary. At least on the GoPro, I know that's where the designated media is. It's much easier to just take the SD card out, plug it into the computer, and search for whatever clips I'm looking for from what day, as opposed to, let's say I was to film something on the iPhone. If I don't copy that media over on that specific day and 1 or 2 days goes by, it's gonna be a lot harder to go back and find it, because I tend to have a lot more stuff on my phone. I airdrop projects over to it, I airdrop finished photos over to it. So it's very easy for content to get lost in my phone. So for that purpose, I really don't like to use it, but in a pinch, it's very convenient, and I tend to make do with what I have. So that pretty much wraps up today's video. Guys, let me know what you thought in the comments below. Does anybody that's watching this video use any of the devices I just mentioned for their content? I'd really be interested in hearing if there's anybody that has a better workflow for using their phone to capture media. I would really love to hear that. For more info on most of these cameras, I have dropped videos on my YouTube channel. More specifically, the Blackmagic camera, I definitely have a handful of videos. The Sony a7C, I do have a dedicated video for it. The a7 III, I really don't have a dedicated video for it, but I do have a bunch of photography and videography related videos that talk about the settings on it. So if you want to check those out, check out my YouTube channel. Make sure to subscribe. Don't forget to like and share with your friends. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.